Deadrop Founders testing is here. The next build is dropping today as of the publication of this video. If you're a founder of Midnight Society, one of the 10,000 holders of Founders Passes, you can play this new dev build, which has huge improvements and changes to the core combat, the movement, and then there's an accompanying blog post that details all the changes coming to VES mode, the main mode of the game. In this video, I'm going to break down all the changes. There's tons of them, guys. We're going to tell you when to play it, what's in the test build, everything you need to know. This is going to be a long one. Tons of details here. Everything's been changed. This update is a game changer for Deadrop. Let's start talking about it. So first and foremost, who can play this Founders Test build and the subsequent Founders Test builds? How can you get access? When can you play? So the people that can play are holders of one of the 10,000 Founders Passes, which were originally sold when Midnight Society was announced. You know, these were digital collectibles that came with the earliest access to the game, so on and so forth. You can buy these on OpenSea. If you already have one, then you're in. You just need to claim your roles in the Midnight Society Discord, and you're in. You'll be able to download this build, which is again a dev build, which I'm going to detail very thoroughly here. Midnight Society has done so in their blog posts, but you can still buy a Founders Pass right now on OpenSea. The thing I would recommend is make sure you follow all of the appropriate steps. Make sure you don't get scammed. Follow what's in the Midnight Society Discord, and you're gonna have to work with their team to get your roles so when you get access to the build. But the servers are going to be up this weekend, Saturday, July 13th, starting at, well, my time, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern. And then tomorrow, 7:14, the servers are going to be up two different times, actually. So 11 a.m., this is Pacific time now, to 2 p.m. Pacific time, and then 4 p.m. Pacific time to 7 p.m. Pacific time. So a lot of play times tomorrow, Sunday. I will be streaming, not tonight. I'm filming midnight to our next live action Deadrop film tonight, but Sunday. Make sure you follow me on Twitch at Mayor Reynolds. And then also going forward, these are not just one-off tests. It's going to be every Thursday from 12 p.m. Pacific to 2 p.m. Pacific, and then Saturdays from 5 p.m. Pacific to 7 p.m. Pacific. You can be sure I'm going to be streaming those Saturdays. Hopefully everybody can make those times. But again, those are who's in the test as founders, but you can still become a founder by buying a Founders Pass right now. Okay, so what is actually in this Founders Test? This is not the next snapshot. This is different. Midnight Society has been choreographing this, saying that these next test builds are going to be just for founders and to test core systems. This is not like the next public-facing snapshot iteration of the game, early access. The early access is still to come later this year as all goes as planned. So this test build, the first Founders Testing test build we're going to be playing today and going forward during these tests, is a team deathmatch game mode played on 3 different maps designed specifically for these playtests. This is how the developers at Midnight Society actually conduct their own systems playtests on these maps. These maps are not planned for the game itself, okay? They're not planned right now to be part of the vertical extract and shooter game mode. They're basically test maps that are like traditional FPS maps, kind of like Canyon and Snapshot 7.5. It is Claws versus Rats, which is robot acquisition teams. More on that later. Rat Warehouse, Slums, and Canyon are the names of the maps. And there's gonna be bugs again, guys. This is a true test build to test the new combat, the new movement, the new inventory system, and we're gonna get into all this. There's a ton here. There's a ton, so stay tuned. Before we get into the nitty-gritty details, I wanted to highlight some of the images in this blog post posted at midnightsociety.com/blog. If you look here, there's a bunch of images with no explanation. Some of them are art and just thrown in there. But this was the first image. And when I look at this, I could go either way. I do think this looks like an actual screenshot or render in Unreal Engine 5, which is what Midnight Society's building Deadrop on. To me, this looks like actual game assets and art. And I could go either way on this. To me, this looks like the section that is in Proving Ground 3 right now, which looks like something like an airport terminal, the way it is in Proving Ground 3 in Blockout. You see these signs up overhead here, kind of like you're in an airport or a bus terminal, or a train terminal for that matter. And the way the reflections on the water, I don't think this is artwork. I think this is an actual in-game asset. And if this was just, in my opinion, the map that we're going to be testing on in the Founders Test, I don't think it would be this arted. It wouldn't be this finished. So I think this is an actual, to me, I think this might be our first look at Proving Ground 3 fully arted. Is that confirmed? No, but awesome image here. Again, the Deadrop universe is so awesome, so slick, so kind of gritty. I love this, but there's more, okay? So this is also later in there. Also notice this glow advertisement here, because there's another one here, and I think it says soda down here, like some in-universe soda, maybe this will be an item in the game, who knows. Is it Dr. Glow? I think it is. Anyway, I could go either way on this one. I think looks more like artwork than an actual in-game asset, but I could go either way because it's a little bit different style than their normal artwork. In some ways, I do still think this is art. To me, this looks a bit reminiscent of the current Proving Ground 2 with those two buildings, the large gap in the middle, and that very vertical gameplay of Proving Ground 2. But then there's this over here, this thing on like a crane, this platform on a crane. This could just be artwork, more looks at, you know, the Deadrop universe to come. I'm kind of leaning more in the artwork direction because there's this like flag, ripped flag thing in the foreground. I don't know, but it looks sick. And then there's some more artwork here, definite artwork, obviously. There's a waist thing up here. This could be, I could go either way on this. This could probably fit in any Deadrop sector, to be honest. Quick shout out to Joker, who just pointed this in the 12 a.m. Discord, another Deadrop content creator. He noticed, and you know, full credit to him, that these two images, when you go to them in a tab like I just did, are both labeled Sector 2. When you see Sector 2 waist logos, Sector 2 alley logos. Here, this kind of looks like a combination of like artwork, but in the style of the gameplay. Again, very gritty here, and I could go either way on this one. This could essentially take place in any Deadrop sector. Here you got the heavy pistol here, another person, looks like a claw, looting straight ahead. We're more in the claw versus rats thing very soon. We got some crows up here for style, and then here, this looks like a rat replacing a battery. More on that soon. Rats are actually battery powered, so more on that soon. And then here again, this just concept art of the rats formerly known as Sins. More to come there as well. Okay, now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty details of what has changed in this Founders Test build, which is the first major release and changes to Deadrop gameplay as we move closer to early access on all platforms later this year, if all goes as planned, no delays. Since Snapshot 7.5 was exclusively focused on, you know, the UGC aspect, they have overhauled seemingly everything about Deadrop's gameplay, guys. And if you want to read this blog post in full, midnightsociety.com/blog, or just go to midnightsociety.com, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a blog post on Founders testing here. I'm going to start with the movement, which has been, I'm going to try to break this down. This is a very long, very detailed post, but I'm going to try to break this down into categories: movement, gunplay, health and armor, inventory, and then changes to VES mode, because VES mode is not what we're playing in this test. This is a test build made specifically to test all these new systems outside of VES. It's very likely that an upcoming Founders test will be in, you know, all these systems implemented into VES. So let's start with the new claws versus rats concept, because this is big not only in this Founders test build, but in the future of Deadrop as we go into VES, you know, the future of the game. Let's start there. It's hard to decide where to start because there's so many changes, but I think this makes the most sense to focus on. So claws are essentially, as you've always known them, they are the humans of the Deadrop universe. Rats are now the replacement for Sins, okay? And there's a ton to break down here. In the playtest, one team will be humans, one team will be rats, and there's difference between the way they actually play, both in this test and in VES, and we're gonna break that down for you. So the claws are your human characters. In VES mode, the intent here are, these are your characters that you're going to be playing to go in, to try to loot, to try to extract. It's a little bit more slower gameplay, as opposed to, you know, some of us when we play Deadrop right now, we're kind of always sprinting around like crazy, just trying to get high kill games. That's more what the rats are for, and we're going to get into that in a second. But the humans have a little bit, again, they're a little bit slower. One of the big differences is that humans can no longer, the claws, I should say, can no longer climb pipes. They can only slide down them. Rats can climb up pipes. They can climb up and down. And the idea for rats is to be a little bit faster, a little more agile, but you also have a battery. And the battery is probably not going to play in this Founders Test build, which is Team Deathmatch. But this means that when you're playing as a claw, you go in when you start in every single match at the beginning of a match. This is for VES, not the Founders Test build. Again, there's a lot to digest here. You spawn in when you're a claw. You get to bring in the loot that you want, risk that loot, and try to go in and complete whatever objectives that you have. Those are contracts. We're going to get into that as well. Whatever it's your own personal objective or a contract that you've taken on for a reward. You start at the beginning of the match, you know, for the full 20, 25, 30 minutes, however long the match can be. You can extract at whatever point you wish, but you can play the whole match. Rats can spawn in progress matches, and again, they run on a battery, they don't bring loot in, and they cannot extract loot either. Any of the loot that you take out as a rat gets instantly converted into dust. So your rats will kind of be like, I just want to go in, I want to play Deadrop, I just want to experience the combat, I want to try to kill a lot of people, and I want to either, you know, go down swinging or extract after a few minutes, because I got this battery which is going to run out if I don't extract or whatever, if I'm a rat. You can find more batteries while you're in. You can take them off other dead rats and replenish yourself, or again, just go in, got a bunch of quick kills, build up some dust. Maybe your claw, so to speak, is low on inventory, and you don't want to risk anything. You don't even have anything. You just want to get some dust so you can buy some stuff. You can load in, play a few matches as a rat, get some dust. Okay, now you got some gear you bought from the vendor. You load up your claw. You're good to go. Rats will spawn into VES mode with totally randomized weapons and loadouts. You don't choose anything. Of course, you can change once you get in there and loot whatever weapons you find, but you're just gonna get in with a pre-loadout. It's not too much different than the system in like Tarkov where you're doing a scav run or whatever, right? That's the basic idea here. But rats actually, they're a little bit faster, a little bit more agile, also lower health than a claw. They cannot use the armor plates, which claws can. We're going to get into detailing that a little bit later. So they're fast, they're mobile, they're killing machines, and you get in, you get your kills, you get your dust, and you get out. Or again, you die when your battery runs out. Talking about the contracts a little bit. Again, right now we're talking about VES, not the stuff in this Founders build. But contracts, again, it's a reason when you're playing your claw, you take on a one-time objective. And by the way it sounds in this blog post, it is literally you get one chance at these contracts. If you fail, you take on another one or whatever. We don't know how they're going to present them. Are they dailies, weeklies? Can you just take on, you know, as many contracts as you want? You just only get one chance at each one at a time. We don't know the details yet, but again, that gives you reason to take your high value loot, your very strong stuff, your best guns, your best armor, and risk losing it because you're trying to complete this contract because a really great reward that you're gonna want. You're gonna want to use it, right? It's very attractive. That's the point of the contracts. There's also a new adrenaline system, which I love this. This is like, for those of us who've been playing Deadrop right now, for the high speed gameplay, this adrenaline system that's detailed in here is incredible. So here it is in the blog post. Let me just read it to you. And this is a pretty new experimental feature, and this is for claws only. As players perform actions during a match, such as sprinting long distances, taking and dealing damage, securing kills, or spending long periods in ADS, they will automatically generate adrenaline, which lasts for a limited amount of time. After reaching certain adrenaline thresholds, they'll become increasingly proficient in a variety of areas until their adrenaline levels reset to their baseline. So when you're calm, this means less than 20 adrenaline. You don't have weapon sway. We'll get into that in a minute. Baseline is the default here. Increased adrenaline levels. When you have 25 adrenaline, you have plus 50 sprint speed, so you're going to sprint faster. Pumped is the next level when you're over 50. Plus 75 sprint speed, 20% faster ADS, 50% reduced sprint ADS penalty. So again, you're actually getting quicker, you're getting faster in your actual movement speed, your ADS, and then juiced is the final, over 80 adrenaline, plus 75 sprint speed, 30% faster ADS, no sprint ADS penalty, 25% reduced hipfire spread, and 50% reduced hipfire recoil. I love that. I love hipfire. 25% reduced ADS recoil. These numbers could obviously all get tweaked. This can't be too overpowered, but I love this because this is, against all other extraction shooters, this is like an anti Escape from Tarkov, what we're looking at here. Where in that game, oh, you know, I ran and now I'm, or a lot of extraction shooters, oh, I ran for a while and now I'm tired and I can't move and my aim, it really sucks. You know, this is the exact opposite. You're getting pumped on adrenaline and testosterone, if I can say that. The more you're doing, the more you're running around, the more you're fighting, the more kills you're getting, you're gonna get better and better. So you're actually not gonna be at a huge disadvantage when that third or fourth party, you know, tries to come up, and especially those, you know, rats, the new name, they're just all coming at you, you know, trying to sneak up on you because you fought several people in a row. You're pumped, you're juiced, you're gonna be running faster, your aim is going to be, your spreads are gonna be better, you're gonna ADS faster. So I love this. This actually rewards fast-paced gameplay and aggressive gameplay. I love this. It doesn't penalize people who don't want to play this way, who want to play more stealthy. There's no penalty to those people. But this is a great system. I hope it stays. Big thumbs up to Midnight Society on this one. Let's talk about the updates to the movement systems, which are huge. A lot of us, you know, really love the speed of Deadrop's gameplay right now, and I expected a lot of it to be smoothed out and slowed down to an extent, right? I never wanted it to get to those like Tarkov levels or a lot of other extraction shooters. That's what separates Deadrop, is its fast movement. And I think these changes that they've laid out here are very, very good. And bear in mind, this includes the adrenaline system that I just mentioned, which can actually boost your movement speed and all of that. So some of the changes that are detailed here, I'm going through these as fast as I can, guys. Heavier armor and weapons seem to impact player speed. So, you know, if you're wearing heavy armor and a heavy helmet and you're carrying a rifle, your player speed will be reduced a little bit. It's not a lot, and I think that's fair. We're talking, you know, 10 and 15% kind of things here. I don't really have an issue with that. Some of the other things that are here, this is probably one of the biggest questions that I have. I think the base, it sounds like the base sprint speed is going to be kind of moved down a little bit, which I do think makes some sense. The sprint speed right now is very high. Slide has been updated. So right now, sliding gives you a little bit of speed boost and preserves momentum when you're going sliding down a hill, which, you know, a lot of us already do stuff like that from games like Apex. They also gave you a little bit of control with left and right with your slide. Again, I already talked about the pipes and ladder changes, that claws can climb up pipes, rats can climb up pipes or down, claws can only go down. And they changed a lot. Again, there's going to be a lot of quality of life updates here, with players being able to look in all directions, the camera work, all that stuff, right? One of the biggest changes here it has to do with both mantling and ledge hanging, as they refer to it. And this is the thing, I have a huge question about this. So it says that they've altogether removed ledge hanging, and they said in this blog post the main reason is because there's not a lot of use cases for just walking over to a ledge and hanging down off of the side. I did use this a few times. You know, you can kind of confuse somebody. Where did this person go? They're hanging from the ledge. Not a lot of people knew about that feature. I did like it, but again, I think it was probably used so little, they probably thought, well, not that important. But they did make huge improvements to mantling to make it smoother and easier to grab an object and pull yourself up in the environment. And I guess this is my biggest question in this whole thing. So you can still mantle up things. Can you still, if you know, we call it ledge grabbing, a lot of us who play Deadrop right now, can you still launch yourself off of an area and then kind of mantle up that piece of that wall or that whatever that you grab onto, that right now we would grab with your hands and you would hang and pull yourself up? Does that now just happen as a mantle, or can you no longer grab those surfaces at all? That would be a massive gameplay change. Deadrop is the only game that really allowed for something like that. So, you know, there was debate as to whether it should be allowed or not. Is it realistic? I hope that it's been replaced by this new mantling system, where if you jump and you catch a ledge, you just automatically mantle up it. That would be great. I have no problem with that. If they pulled the feature altogether, I will be kind of disappointed, but we'll see how it shakes out. They also changed this. They've got it in here detailed as coyote time, which means like after they basically changed it so you have like an extra fraction of a second, it sounds like, to kind of jump off of something before you just start falling, to make the timing of that stuff work a little better. A lot of quality of life features all throughout here to movement. Grabbing zip lines is now a little bit easier, so you won't fall to your death as much if you're jumping from above and grabbing onto a zip line. Changes as well to footstep audio, which is great. If you're crouched, that's going to reduce your footstep audio, which I think is great. Right now, there's not a lot of difference between any footsteps anywhere, so you can play a little bit more stealthily as well. Okay, if you remember, Midnight Society's been talking about an armor plate system for a while. We actually got details in here how that's going to work. Again, armor plates can only be used by claws, not rats. And how this works is armor plates, they absorb all damage when you have an armor plate or armor plates on. You don't take any damage whatsoever. So when your armor plate is destroyed, you are now going to take damage again. So if you are hit, and it even details, you know, let's say you've got an armor plate on that can absorb, I don't know, 30 damage, and you get hit by a bullet that's going to do 35 damage. Your armor plate breaks, and you take that additional 5 damage, in case you were wondering. They also mentioned that there's been a full change and balance overhaul, the time to kill. I'm sure all the weapons have received damage changes. My guess is like the auto shotgun and double barrel are going to be much more balanced, and we're going to get more into the gunplay here in a minute. But again, that those health and armor plate thing, that's going to be huge, and the feedback on that in this founders test I think is going to be vital. Okay, the gunplay changes, huge. I already expected a lot of this stuff. There's probably one thing I didn't expect, but I don't have a problem with it. I think it's a good change. So the big thing is you can now have one primary, one secondary, and a knife, period. This makes sense to me. You can no longer like carry a sniper rifle and a shotgun to get the best of both worlds at long range and the close range, and it allows them to balance the weapons on their own instead of it like weapon pairs. This does make sense to me. You kind of got to commit to a play style. You won't really see those god tier pairings of weapons. If you're pushing somebody who has a sniper and you've got a shotgun or an SMG and you get up close, you should have a little bit of an advantage. Same thing the other way around. If you've got a sniper and you can keep that person at a distance or a DMR, you should have an advantage. And positioning is going to be even more important, which I think is super important, because remember, the whole point of this mode, a part of this game's concept, is that it has vertical gameplay, right? So I do think that this is a good change in the long run, and I think you'll see people. It's even more important when you're putting together your loadout to go into the map, right? You're kind of going to be as a claw making a decision. I'm going to play this game with a sniper. I'm going to play with faster pace with an SMG or whatever. You're consciously making that decision. My guess is we don't know which weapons are in which category. My guess is the pistols will be, in the secondary category. There's nothing detailed here in regards to new weapons, but I am of course expecting new weapons to be added to Deadrop in the future. This has been detailed and expected for a long time. Guns as a whole should have more recoil and weapon sway. They do say the weapon sway is very small. So the goal here is that weapons feel more responsive and punchy. Again, I did expect this. And when I first played Deadrop's early snapshots and a sniper was added, I felt that the sniper kind of felt in some ways like PUBG sniping, which I loved. I can't wait to play the updated gunplay. I am going to be posting a first impressions video after I stream the Founders Test tomorrow night, this Sunday on Twitch. So I'm going to be giving my feedback. By the way, there's a section for feedback directly to Midnight Society in their Discord. So make sure you're in that channel to give your feedback. That's the whole point of this, is to play this new build and say, this feels great, this doesn't. This gun is too strong, this gun is too weak, this movement ability is useless, it's hard to use, whatever. All that feedback, give it to them. That's the point of these founders tests. They're not public facing marketed products like old snapshots. This is actual like play testing being done by us to be given to the developers to help get that early access build, which will be public facing to be the best it can be. Now I want to talk about changes to inventory real quick, and one of the things that's in here is that there's been a lot more items added to the game. And again, I don't expect to see most of these in the Founders test build. I expect most of these to be in VES and a future Founder test build, but it says that there are a lot more items in the game now to counteract certain features in certain sectors. For example, so I'm envisioning an item, for example, in Sector 3 that maybe could make you a little bit more resistant to the rising freeze, and there could be other vulnerabilities in other sectors. So items specifically that play into the theme of each sector and the gameplay of each sector, which I love. It says there's going to be items that help you get into, like, you know, loot vaults. That's not what they're called. That's just what I'm referring to them as. You know, keys and stuff probably to get you access to high tier loot areas. There's the ability to damage and destroy walls, which is really cool. It's great to see that. In some sectors, some type of tech that will let you do that. Tech that is anti-rat. I don't know how that's going to work, but maybe you know, you do more damage to them, or you know, maybe you can stay hidden from them easier. I don't know. We'll see. Tracking. They detailed. There's a bunch of ideas and stuff in here that they say is being implemented right now, which is great. Weapon rarity is also a thing. So the best way I can describe this, I hate to say it, but kind of Fortnite. So standard weapons come in common, uncommon, rare, and epic. Kind of like, you know, a green, blue, purple. I don't know. We'll see what they went with. White, green, blue, purple, maybe. And then legendary weapons are only ever legendary. And each, you know, the more rarer a version of the gun, the more potent it is. So probably the more accurate, the more damage it's gonna do. And then it says down here, for example, there's going to be weapons that come in different variations with different maker brands or kind of like manufacturers. So it says Warforged weapons will inherit the ability to be customized with attachments, but this must be done between matches, so not in game. I actually love this. No more like sitting there during a match when you're, you know, fighting other people, and you're gonna be fighting PvE enemies as well, and you're trying to put a barrel attachment on and you get killed while you're doing it. While VCS inherits mod chips, which will be expanded in the future. V12 weapons will have armor destroying melee modes, which can be toggled with the firing mode button. Love this. More depth, but it's not too complicated. It's not like, you know, when I play Tarkov in those games, there's so many freaking items and so many different ammo types. It's almost overwhelming. And it's like you have to read a dictionary to learn how to play the game. This is going to be much more approachable. Okay, I've got a legendary weapon. This is the best version of the weapon. I can customize it a little bit. You got to learn, you know, the manufacturers, so to speak. But I do like this system. When I first read about it, I honestly wasn't sure about it, but I think in the extraction space, this is a bit more approachable and accessible, and I'm good with it. There's also been, you know, a ton of quality of life improvements, including updated reticules, hit markers, and damage feedback. Again, polishing the game to feel more finished. A few other inventory changes. Bullets are gone. You don't have to keep bullets in your inventory anymore. It's been replaced by magazines. I think this is a good change. It makes sense for balance reasons. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to worry about your ammo. You worry about how many magazines you have. How many magazines did you bring in with you? How many magazines do you have in your backpack? I think that's probably just much easier overall. I don't see anything in here like having to load ammo in the magazines like you do in Tarkov. I hate that. I'm glad that that's, you know, not in here, at least to our knowledge. It's gonna make your inventory easier to manage too. You're not gonna have those stacks and stacks and stacks of AR ammo or whatever, SMG ammo, pistol ammo in your inventory. It's just gonna be easier, flat out, period. Again, I did mention that heavier armor and weapons do impact your movement speed a bit, and they did mention that the looting interface has been updated as well. There's less click and drag, and it should be a little more intuitive and quicker and snappier all around. Speaking of quicker and snappier, they do specifically call out during this test that one of the things that they want is more controller feedback. They didn't detail too much in here what the changes to controller are, but I imagine that it has come forward and is going to feel the best it has so far, is my guess. But obviously, try to play with the controller. I will do that for one of my streams, give my feedback. This is planned for console release, so that's really important. So that's it for this video, guys. What a wild update. The Founders testing is literally out now, almost zero notice, just like, oh guys, here it is. Complete combat, inventory, movement overhauls, details of updates coming to VES, flat out decisions on all that stuff. Still needs to be tested. Again, remember, this is a development build. This is a test build. It is not final. The devs are still asking for our input. There's going to be bugs. There's going to be crashes, probably some balance issues that still need to be worked out. But it's a huge update, and I think it's going to feel great to play something new. Don't forget, make sure you come join me on Twitch to see me stream this build live. Subscribe to this channel to get my full impressions, my thoughts, my feedback on the build. And if you're just following Deadrop and Midnight Society, you want to subscribe to this channel because we're covering it all. We're working on our next live action Deadrop short film. We're doing it all around here, and I really appreciate you guys' viewership. And there's so much more to come, right? I'm not just talking about me. This is only the first founders test. There's going to be more, like I said, one with all these systems implemented into VES. I'm sure will we get to test the new kind of reworked maps, the hideout, factions, progression, more UGC tools. There's so much more to come. This is only one step forward, and I think we're really going to start seeing a lot of stuff very quickly here. So thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you're most excited about in these founders tests or in the changes to VES down in the comments. We'll see you in the next video very soon, which will be my impressions of the founders test build, probably on Monday night after I play it and stream it on Sunday. So see you in the next video, guys. May Reynolds out.